one of the interesting things we were discussing yesterday is back in 2020 when Scott tried the 21-day fat cell cleanse, which was 3 weeks, right, 21 days. But then we made adjustments during the second phase and the third phase. So it's interesting, something I try and get across to people all the time is you have to make strategic changes, otherwise things are going to get stale, just like your training blocks, right? So what do we have to work with? We have meal frequency. We have the lengths of fasted periods. We can macronutrient cycle in terms of rotating the amounts of carbohydrate, dietary fats, and proteins. So there's a lot of things that we can do. However, in a lot of cases, people get very intellectually lazy with their nutrition plans, and they want to be very robotic, eat the same things over and over, because they think that's right, well, might as well stick with it. However, you know, as I mentioned, it gets stale. So in Scott's case, and this has been a frequent program that I've used when someone's trying to reduce body fat, maintain their muscle mass, and have a high quality of life, 21-day fat cell cleanse, zero carbohydrate, using some flexible fasting protocols, high protein, high dietary fat, relatively high calorie, as well for 3 weeks. Unlimited amount of green vegetables, the idea being trying to transition someone to using more stored fat as fuel, optimizing insulin levels, helping the digestive system recover by removing a lot of food allergens and refined foods. Then use 1 day of a relatively high carbohydrate intake, which is actually very effective for fat burning, in that it's very anabolic in nature, helps to lower cortisol, helps to optimize thyroid. And then you can repeat that cycle as many times as you want, you know, without it getting stale. But in Scott's case, we started to add some carbohydrate post-training during his second phase, and he felt that was a better balance, you know, for him. So it's not always about being in ketosis or a ketogenic plan. That's not as important as people would think as it relates to body fat loss. I do think plans that are lower in carbohydrate in general and focusing carbohydrate post-training are a lot more effective for fat burning than many others, you know, out there. You know, the more often you eat, the more conscious you have to be of your caloric intake, because fasting changes the game in many respects as it relates to thermodynamics, in my opinion. A nutritionist would say I'm crazy. I would tell them they're wrong, you know, in terms of what my observations have been. So that's one advantage of fasting. Someone using 2 meals a day, for example, within like a 6 or 8 hour window is a lot less sensitive to caloric intake in my experience. Any questions that came up from yesterday, anything we discussed?